We are looking at the corner, the northeast corner of Hempfield Township. And up here is what we want to look at. This is Hannastown up here. This over here is Greensburg. And we can go in a little bit closer. Drag it down here. This is Route 119 coming up. And this up here is the park where Hannastown is located. This is where the old fort used to be. This also is Hannastown. This is a patch town, a coal patch town from Jamison's mine, second Jamison's coal mine number 2. Now here is Google Earth's look at things. This is that coal patch town. Over here is the historic Hannastown. And this is 119 on its way up to Crabtree. Here's Crabtree up here. Mapping from 1886 shows that Hannastown still has an existence, although a very attenuated one. Greensburg has really taken precedence. Hannastown originally was the county seat, but when the county seat was moved to Greensburg, Hannastown was reduced, not to mention the fact that it was reduced when it was burnt by a bunch of people. There were a collection of Indians and British Tories who were using the Indians to try to put Hannastown out of business during the Revolution. This records the founding of the courthouse at Hannastown, 1773, in Robert Hanna's house, which was not an ideal situation. Also happening there were the Hannastown Resolves during the Revolution, actually right before the Revolution. The local people got together and made a statement very strongly telling Britain that they wanted no part of the nonsense that they were trying to perpetrate upon the colonies here. An artist from Greensburg by the name of Homer Blair did this. I reworked it a bit and put some color on it. But this shows Forbes Road going through Hannastown and the fortress itself, or the place that had the palisades around it. These were cabins of the people that lived there. Most of them were burned during the invasion or attack on Hannastown in 1782 rather. When Westmoreland County was first founded with its county seat at Hannastown, this is the size of Westmoreland County, much bigger than it is now. It included what's now Allegheny and Greene, Washington, Fayette, part of Indiana, maybe more. The settlers had a lot of grief to put up with in the early years. This is 1770. Hannastown shows up on the map. Greensburg isn't even on the map yet, but what this map is from, not from Pennsylvania. It's a map from Virginia, and they are claiming this area as their own. And they sent a bunch of border ruffians up there to try to drive out the settlers that had land claims from Pennsylvania. James Clark Esquire. Clark actually lived at Hannastown and grew up there. I recall him because there are histories that record that Hannastown simply didn't exist after it was burnt down in 1782, but it did exist. I mean, it did have an existence. It certainly wasn't as important as Greensburg once the county seat was moved to Greensburg, but Clark moved there he was like 2 years old when his family moved there. His father opened a tavern on the Forbes Road, and he was a teacher. He also became a county commissioner, as did James Clark himself. James Clark was a noteworthy person, a smart guy. Even though he never had any schooling past age 12, he managed to be a county commissioner. He managed to be a member of the Pennsylvania state government. He was a canal commissioner. He was also in the working for the Pennsylvania Railroad, helping them acquire land ownership when they were just starting out in the late 1840s. This is mapping from the 1790s showing that Greensburg has actually taken precedence by this time. Hannastown is still there, but in a rather diminished condition. And that's probably due to the fact that there was a new set of trustees who were empowered to decide where the courthouse should be placed, the county seat, and they decided Greensburg. The first court at Greensburg was held in 1787. After that time, Greensburg takes precedence. And this is the courthouse that was at Greensburg. Not a very impressive thing, and it was just only a temporary structure. And it was replaced by 1801 by a newer building. That's the place where James Clark's father, Robert Clark, did his work as one of the county commissioners. This shows us Hannastown, a nice peaceful looking place, but unfortunately it was not always peaceful. During the Revolution, the people who sided with the British, called the Tories, they got the Indians on their side, and that probably wasn't too hard to do because the Indians realized that the settlers were trying to take their land from them. The Indians had been here for thousands of years, and all of a sudden these new people came from across the sea and were taking their land, their hunting territory, and all their culture was being simply removed. So the British found it rather easy to incite the Indians to rebel against these people who were settling on what the Indians thought of as their land. This is a reconstruction of Robert Hanna's place. Even after the burning of Hannastown in 1782, there were two houses left in addition to the fort itself. They were close to the fort, so the Indians couldn't get close enough to burn them down. And for a few years after the burning of Hannastown, court was still held here at Robert Hanna's place. This is another building that's been reconstructed out at Hannastown to record the days when things were better out there. This shows what was built inside the enclosure. This enclosure, you see, this was the fort at Hannastown. This was a reconstructed scene, but they were trying to show what was inside the fort. This would have been put in the middle of the fort, and it has no windows, you see. It was made for security. It was made to be able to fight back from these little holes up here were things you could fire a gun out there. Because during the time Hannastown was attacked, they were very much threatened. If they had not their fort to defend them, they might have been killed. Most of the cabins of the settlers were burnt by the Indians and the Tories who were instigating them. And they were fortunate to have this enclosure to protect themselves. We should recall that the Tories are, to some degree, still among us because they are people who have no interest in democratic government. They are people who would really like to destroy government of, for, and by the people. And those people are still here, still with us. Maybe not siding with Britain, but at this point it looks like they are siding with Russia, another authoritarian group. They work with various tactics like voter suppression and gerrymandering, and working to try to undermine the legitimate media so that they can spread their propaganda out and undermine democratic government. I think that's enough for this one now. I think we're going to say so long and bye.